So 9 trekkers in Uttarakhand died on June 4th while they were climbing to this place called Sahasratal. I've been asked to make this video by Rekha. She has a series of questions that I'm gonna answer on this video. So not wasting any time, I'm just gonna go in. As I go in, let me tell you a little about myself. I'm Devang Thapliyal and I have led more than 100 treks in the Himalayas and expeditions as well. I have been in extreme wilderness, specializing in the Himalayas at the altitude. I and my team were involved in Kedarnath rescues in 2013, being the pinnacle of my career. Since then, there are a number of stories, but when I answer these questions, it's all coming from experience and only for the goodwill. The question that I have been asked is, as a trekker, what are the things to know before the treks? So there are many things that you should know before going on a trek, but we're gonna break it down. The first thing that I've written down is physical fitness. Physical fitness and training. So you got to figure out what kind of trek have you registered for. Is your trek like 16-kilometer trek? It's a 22-kilometer trek, like the whole duration of it. I would say you got to do half of that number in a day at your city, at your town. Go for a run of half that number. Let's say you have registered for a trek which is 22 km long. If you can run 11 km, slow, steady, fast, doesn't matter. If you can do that amount of distance, you are physically fit. Now, if you are not fit, you really must train. There's another measure that's there, which is doing 5 km in 30 minutes. That's just another measure that companies use to get people registered on a trek, to decide whether you're physically fit or not for a trek. So physical fitness is really important for a trek, especially all the endurance activities. Now if you want to take a step ahead and you are going for a expedition, let's say you're going on a difficult trek, in that case get into staircase climbing or stairs that you have on gyms. Try to do elevation runs. Those are also very important. Okay, so once you know that you are not fit, then you have to train, and these should be the measures that you should be aiming for. Now you got to do research and planning on which trek you're gonna go on. Research and planning is all about how many kilometers are you covering in this respective day. These are some questions that you need to ask yourself, or you need to ask the organizer. By what time you're gonna be reaching the campsite, by what time you're gonna be starting for the trek, starting your day. All these questions are very important. Also, in this research, please kindly make sure that you do a check on weather. Weather is another big important thing that is gonna decide good or bad of your trek. So please check in how's the weather like, and kindly check it through AccuWeather, because you want to know at altitude, is it going to be snow coming in or not. So these things are important. Let's say at 9,000 feet, if it's raining, it'll be snowing at 12 or 15,000 feet. So you got to be careful about making these decisions. Now the third thing is, once you've done these two, gear and equipment. You must have right gear and equipment, guys. You cannot be thinking, okay, I have a down jacket. Down jacket is something that keeps you warm, but if you wear a down jacket and you walk in the wind, it's not going to keep you warm. The wind comes through down jacket. So down jacket has its own use, thermals have its own use. Please make a checklist and follow that checklist before you go on a trek. We have transformed quite a lot in clothing industry. You don't need to be carrying a 5 kg jacket to protect you from cold. A down jacket is less than a kg, and then you put a wind cheater on the top of that, a windproof material on top of that, Gore-Tex material on top of that. So that these kind of stuff really help. If I get into this, there are a lot of things that this video can branch off into regarding gearing and layering up. So I'm just going to cover the pointer, which is, please look into the weather. There's this one thing in the mountains, no matter what, it can rain anytime. So it's always good to have the rain gear, and it's always going to be cold. So always take something that's going to keep you warm. Carry as many socks as possible. Other gear could be head torches, trekking poles. What are your requirements? Please take these. Please at least do a research of it before you go on a trek. we are on to the fourth point, which is mental awareness. How much mentally are you aware about your own body? What is it that you're feeling? Are you feeling a strain on your knee or your left knee, right knee? What are the pre-existing injuries that you have had? How are you going to counter those injuries? So that's another thing that you got to be really careful of. So these are the things that you should be thinking about as a trekker before you register for a trek. Basic responsibility of a trek company. That's the other question that she has asked. What are the rules and regulations? So when you are choosing a trek company, how long have they been in business? That's something important. Other thing, what's their safety agenda? All these companies, anyone can take a person up to the mountain, but what's the safety standard? What's the safety agenda that they are following? There's something really important in this one, which is, how did you get to know about that company? Is it word of mouth? I have always considered if it's word of mouth, someone else must have had a good experience and they want you to have that good experience. That's the word of mouth that's been communicated forward. Now, if they have had a bad experience, that's already eliminated that company. So that's word of mouth. That's, is important when you're choosing a trek organization. Other thing is safety standards. Like these companies, before you register, just ask them, do you guys carry oxygen cylinders? Yes, no, maybe. What is it? I need to see it. And when you are asking these questions, how proactive they are to reply, before you register, before you pay your fee, how proactive they are for them to reply. That's also important. Very important. Other thing, and I think in order to choose the organization, this should be a top priority. What is going to be the group size? Look, I'll tell you, there's this organization called National Outdoor Leadership School, Outward Bound, United States, Australia, and these companies have this big wilderness in and around US, and they have come up with this protocol. The ratio that they have come up when they're teaching students in universities is 1:4. So 1 instructor and 4 participants. That's the ratio. Now, do understand India has a mass, it's big population. You can stretch it a bit, maybe 1:6, at max 7. It should not be more than that. If you are planning to have a team of yours, like you say, I'm going to be 30 people out there, there should at least be 4 to 5 trek leaders. That brings me to the other point. What is it about the trek leader? So you need to know beforehand, or you must have faith or trust in that organization, that the organization is going to do this. But you need to know this. Would this person who's leading, is he having a certification of basic mountaineering? Basic mountaineering is what I believe is must for all the trek leaders. They must have this thing. Now, when I started this respective career, basic mountaineering course certification was one I had. Then I had advanced, I had search and rescue, and then there's this another top-notch thing which is called wilderness first aid responder. Now, anyone with basic mountaineering certificate and wilderness first aid responder, I would be happy to trek with that person. If considering I am just first one to trek, I'm trekking for the first time, I'd be happy with that person if I'm going to on a medium kind of a trek. If I'm going on a hardcore trek, something that's not been explored as much, there are not many people on that trail, I would actually want to be with someone who has done advanced mountaineering course and wilderness first aid responder. I think wilderness first aid responder is the most important one. It kind of makes me sad that right now there's so many people who want to travel, and then there are companies who have just started recruiting people who have just done one trek. I've done one trek. Okay, perfect. You can be the trek leader for the trek. That's just BS. In the mountains, weather changes very quickly, and you have to be prepared. There has to be a certain amount of experience that must go in for a trek leader to judge the situations. There is no guessing game out there. There is a certain judgment that comes from experience and by you studying the geography and topography of the region. And these all educational qualities are implanted through these courses. So I really believe these things should be mandatory. To all those trek leaders who are listening to this video, if this video gets out on YouTube and stuff, I want all these trek leaders to know your job is not to take people up. Your job is to bring people down safe. And there's a difference between these two things. There's a big difference. Now, if you're a trek leader, you surely would understand this. Other thing is communication and support. Let's say I am at camp 3. How am I communicating with people at camp 1 or at the base camp? How am I doing that? That is a very logical question that should be asked when I am choosing my trek organization. Okay, this is most of it that I have. If there are any questions, please comment and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Over and out.